don't know if that Valandian force will be part of it. The reinforcement system, of course, is activated. We've got our companion here. Doesn't she have 100 Fiend champs? 129 Fiend champions. I might be seeing double, but we've got 250 Fiend champions. 15,000 looters going to attack this Valandian force. They might join the battle with the reinforcement system. This might be 20,000 looters here. Let's see what this looks like.
Stop right there. This is a robbery.
Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. We are inebriated tonight. This will be maybe the 4th episode in our smashingly good time series where we tip a few back and have a little bit of fun with Bannerlord. I am testing out some mods with 1.2. You'll have to forgive me. Maybe the content you are about to watch is not going to be optimal. I've been told I'm very good tactically when I'm drunk, but not particularly good at narrating. So maybe it'll be half as good as you expect. We've got all these custom weapons from Hugh the Hammer's campaign here. This is one of the most powerful characters I've ever played. Let's run with 3 different weapons here because why not, right? We're not exactly logical here. We got a giant hammer. And we're going to face thousands of bandits and looters. We're already attacked by 5,400, but we have a great army. So this is a very strange, this is almost like an apocalyptic type situation. They're just going to be pouring at us here. And I think I'm close enough to Glintor, this village, that it'll be at the village, which is going to make it even better. It's going to feel like a zombie apocalypse is attacking this little pretty Botanian village. Better get some more. I had to put down our cat today, our emotional support cat. I'm very close to it. I'm one of those alpha males who still has a cat. And we have to do some drinking here to handle some of the emotions that are coming with that. And we're going to have some fun here, some laughing, drunken tactical fun here. I'm trying to make sense of this all. This is a save game I have not played in a while. We were loading up a bunch of mods and Tales of the Age of Men because we're going to start exploring this new amazing Lord of the Ring mod. And I wanted to make sure the mods were stable here in large battles. So we've already fought 3,200 looters. We have the reinforcement system going, so 5,500. And there's a decent chance it ends up being 20,000 looters. So we have 600 of probably the strongest forces you can assemble here with great captains. And I know it looks like I'm doing random shit here. I'm trying to have like 4 archer divisions and making sure that we can, what I want to do here is hold fire. Maybe you'll need to play this at 1.5 speed so that I speak quickly. If I speak quickly right now, what happens is my tongue doesn't operate as well because the oxygen is not reaching my brain. So we're going to have to speak at the rate we're doing so here. We'll try to keep this interesting. It's going to be funny no matter what, right? Tip one back and watch as we try to fight 5,400 looters. I think the 15,000 is going to join because we have the reinforcement system and we have that bandit mod, right? The last battle we saw those mounted ransackers. It's basically a bunch of mounted looters with bows and arrows, and it makes for great carnage. We've got a great army. We've got all kinds of nooks and crannies here with these tough infantry divisions of Legionary and Wildling. And this is part of our Perfect Army series, right? We made this series with Hugh the Hammer. This is like an old friend of mine. I haven't played this in like a year. And I needed some fun. My wife is out of town. My cat died. I actually killed my cat. Right? It's a sad thing when we have to do that, but ultimately it is the right thing to do, right? When an animal is suffering. We had him for 15 years, right? He was feral before, so he was probably 18 years old. And, you know, the old alcohol, that's what it's for, right? If you're drinking alcohol every day, it's not so good. But I drink it like 3 times a month or something like that, twice and once a month. And today I'm making up for those other days I didn't drink. Get these divisions lined up here. We're going to try to hold fire and have some kind of logical order to this. Like I said, I've been told I'm a decent tactician when I'm drunk. We've posted 3 or 4 episodes before. In fact, I think we've done already one of these looter battles. But this is going to be like unlike one you've ever seen before. It's in a compacted village. There's going to be thousands of them. This is going to be one of the wildest battles you've ever seen. You guys have seen, like, what is it, The Walking Dead or something like that? This is going to be the Walking Dead Bannerlord style. Here they come, and these are the mounted ransackers. These are like tier 3 cavalry, and they look like dipshits. Of course, we have all these mods going, so it's going to be a visual spectacle. And they've got a spear. They'll do damage, but this character, look at how fast his polearm swings. His hammer's even faster. And we're going to cause tremendous chaos here, right? There's no reason just to open fire yet with all of our divisions. In fact, I'm going to hold some of these divisions back for 20 minutes. Strap yourself in. Put one back with me. I might even drink a few during the episode because this could easily be a half-hour fight. I had a fight earlier against 4,000 looters, and it took me 20 or 25 minutes. We get our bloodlust on. And I understand if this is not your thing, right? We're just going to share some content on the channel. Some guys love this shit. Just carnage, looters everywhere. They're trying to shoot me and shit. And of course, the death spam is definitely going to look all green for a long time. Right? These looters, they're going to have to basically lean on us for 45 minutes before our force starts to get diminished. But we're going to do some tactics too, right? So it's not like we're just all of a sudden going to melt here. We're not giving up fucking easy. In fact, we might even get some reinforcements. I'm trying to add it up to, it looks like maybe we're 100 short. We've got a host of mods, and while we smash these troops, maybe we'll talk about them here. Again, if I didn't mention it, we are going to be playing, we'll do a playthrough. We'll do some tactical battles of Tales of the Age of Men. I think that's how it's called, how it's pronounced. My face is vibrating, so, you know, if the recollection of it is not terrific, that's what's going on here. Had 3 or 5 drinks, something like that. We're numbing some pain here. Killed my cat, right? I said, yes, veterinarian person, thank you for helping me today. Kill my cat. He's suffering. He hasn't eaten in 5 days. He's got a tumor. We threw thousands of dollars at him, and then we killed him. But it's also, you know, it's one of the most divine acts of mercy, right? Nobody should have to suffer at the end of their life, and unfortunately, a lot of people do. Maybe we'll ramble about that in this episode. My mother-in-law starved herself to death rather than go through Alzheimer's. We've talked about that a little bit on the channel. Life is difficult, and you know, it's not always easy. It was the hardest decision to make. My wife's out of town. I gotta kill my cat. So I don't do a whole lot of crying. You know, I definitely not opposed to crying, but I do a whole lot of drinking when I'm suffering. And we're gonna have some fun here. So far, so good, right? I don't know if I've seen a single one of our troops die as the corpses pile up here. And this poor village, they're going to have a plague here. They're going to have to relocate, or they're just going to have to rename this village, you know, the Bandit Graveyard. Now, it seems like we've won, but you guys saw, it's 5,400 looters. And there's a very good chance of reinforcements because we have the reinforcement system cranked. If you don't know what that is, this is a cool mod where armies that are not part of the original battle, if the battle lasts long enough, they will join the battle, and it can be allies too, right? I anticipate Valandian forces potentially joining, like that earlier battle. That was great, right? We had those 600 Valandians come in, and they were their banner knights were charging all these looters and making them rout. That's one of my favorite parts about Bannerlord, is beating on the peasants, and they're screaming for help. And what do? You break out your hammer and club them to death. We can't stop them. And you remind them that they're correct. Run! There's looters everywhere, and they're attacking our squares. But obviously, looters do very little damage, right? So we've got these defensive lines while our archers rain in arrows, and it seems like we're doing good tactics, right? It seems reasonably decent. You know, if we don't play very well in this episode, I would blame the low amount of oxygen arriving to my cerebral cortex. But so far it seems pretty good. You see hardly any death spam. You see your companions getting kills. And we're gonna club some fuckers here. I wish there was a break. Give me a break here, looters, so we can get a drink. Alcohol, you know, it's a killer. It causes Alzheimer's and liver cirrhosis and some other horrific shit. But I think, you know, used occasionally, alcohol is a wonderful thing, right? My wife actually was an alcoholic when she was very young. Her and I now barely ever drink. You know, we don't even drink with meals. But occasionally we drink when the moment seems right. Well, sometimes if you're having a bad day, she lost her mother to Alzheimer's. Well, we drank a few times. Right? It's the ultimate number, right? I mean, of course, there's worse. It's the ultimate safe number, right? There's all kinds of numbing things in our world, whether it's Netflix, chocolate ice cream, heroin, and alcohol. At least, especially if you're doing it rarely, it's like the ultimate safe number, right? And of course, some of you fellas are from the, what do you guys call yourself? The Great Britain? Is there a lesser Britain? You know, you guys are definitely familiar with alcohol. It's fucking dark every day. You guys get sunshine for 1 month of the year, right? Something like that. And these archers, how come you can't see here? Why aren't you guys shooting? You should have good line of sight here. I'm going to pull back defensive squares. I think, you know, tactics are something I do now, like brushing my teeth. You know, some of these tactics, some of our campaigns are much more complicated than this. Should be pretty easy to do some squares here against looters. And we still have 3/4 of a health bar, right? The only real risk in this battle is that I get carpal tunnel. We're going to be here a while. There's going to be a lot of dismemberments. That's one of the mod that seems to be working beautifully with 1.2. And we've got to test this out before we do a playthrough and we post a bunch of content on YouTube. I don't see the little recording button, but our recording thing. Here we go. See, that's what I mean. Looters join. Looters join the battle, it says. So more are coming, right? There hasn't been enough yet, and the carcasses are starting to stink something fierce here as they zerg our squares. Well, we've got all kinds of, I got all kinds of levers to pull, right? We can, anytime I want, I can tell these two other divisions to fire, and I got a Consguard division that's just waiting to flank the enemy from the swamp. I figure Consguards are like the perfect quick pull lever in case of fire. For some reason, I love killing helpless people yelling for help. And you guys, once in a while, you'll say, wow, you'd make a good leader. I would vote for you as president. Nah, not a good decision. You give me power, who knows what the fuck would happen. Pretty much nobody's going to be a good leader with how flawed the human beings are. We are a flawed species. History has shown us that. We're just working a bunch of looters. These are basically like the medieval homeless people, and we're just carving them apart like a Holocaust. Thank goodness we got video games to get our violent influences out. No actual homeless people were hurt in the filming of this. In the filming of this looter massacre. I'm one of those poor sods who still gives food to the guy, you know, standing at the overpass and shit like that. I don't ever give them money because I assume they're going to get alcohol or drugs. But then again, you know, I'm drinking. Maybe they should be allowed to drink, right? But their life is horrible. Seems eminently reasonable. Hell, the British, that's why they become alcoholics, right? For 200 years, all they did is work in the factory while the rich people got richer. Sometimes there's good reasons to drink. I'm going to start backing up here. We've got all these other forces that I'm basically just waiting to open fire. I would guess we've lost maybe 50 troops so far. Maybe, right? A lot of these Legionnaires are bloodied, but they're not down. And at least as many looters are routing as are fighting. And it may seem like we can't lose this battle, but I remind you the reinforcement system is activated. This is a great mod. And if it worked right, I think I showed you, right? There was 15,000 looters by a Valandian force. They're throwing rocks at me here. We got them bottleneck something fierce here. They're totally penned up. And there's a pretty good chance that that 15,000 already joined, right? I said, less talking, more raiding, right? And that means they joined the battle, and they did so, of course, because the AI did some calculations and thinks it can win. Maybe it can, I don't know. If you get attacked by enough, the Spartans lost after all, right? Even though they were whipping the Persians' asses, they ultimately lost, right? So you get enough zombies and they take you out. Now we've got a mod called Random Bodies, so every single looter is unique, right? They got a mustache or an afro, or they got war paint all over their face. Sometimes, you know, they've got a giant Luigi mustache. Damn, those guys are out of ammo already. And that makes it even funnier when they get chopped to pieces or shot by fucking cavalry here. There's still Zerg in our square. These guys are out, right? You guys are out of ammo. So archer divisions are becoming offense here. And they're still coming, right? There's no end to the looters here. And I don't look very often at the scoreboard, almost never during battle. We like to have a layer of suspense. I don't know if we can win this or if this is going to be easy. So far, it's been easy. The day is lost. And there's just a huge heap of looters pounding on our square. It looks like a wild organism or something like that. It doesn't look like people. And these archers are starting to run out of ammo. This is a lot of looters starting to stack up, attacking our square. It looks amazing, right? So far, so good, right? We're going to be able to have some Lord of the Rings battles with 2,000 troops. We have the battle size mod going. We got a lot of mods going. I loaded like 10 or 12 mods just to make sure they were stable. And it'll be interesting to see if some of these still work with Tales of the Age of Men. Random Bodies is one of the coolest mods for visuals in the game. It makes literally every single unit unique. So every single one of these looters looks unique. Some are bald. Some have mustaches. Now we can whip out our fast two-handed axe here and do some dismemberment. as looters with afros get trucked by fiend champions. Bring more looters. All right, let's get a drink. Can multitask on the channel. Maybe they'll all rout. In which case, you know, it's not going to be a very good episode, but I don't think they're going to rout. We'll know for sure if there's reinforcements, if we see more cavalry, right? That basically the reinforcement system, these extra units are going to join this battle. And I'm looking at the power bar, and it looks like we win easily, but those reinforcements won't start to come in until this initial 5,000 is dead. We killed 7,000 in that other battle, but this might be 20,000. Right? There was 15 and 5. And the reinforcement system, I set it to max distance, right? So let's crack these archers up. The max distance with the reinforcement system means that units that are not even visible to you can still join the battle. We've got all this ammo. We've got all these different buildings to use for cover. And this marsh is going to help us on some level too, right? Because the the army of looters is trudging up, getting hit with javelins for 300. And we've got dismounted cons guards here. Move back, Grace. I want them on horse, so they're moving faster. We still got a half our health bar, almost half our health bar. And there's just a host of looters pouring through the weeds here. Look how many are routing. And we might get 1,000 kills in this kind of a battle. Save your... Oh, he gets clubbed. They're throwing rocks at us. It's so great. All right, 1, 2, 3 divisions, and the 5th, the 7th is back there. They can dump javelins still. And that's the beauty, right? We must have 230, 240 Fiend champions. So this series, I can talk about that briefly here while they bring more looters, right? I've got literally a little foundation of squares here. This series was a series we did covering what I thought was the best Bannerlord army. Now that was pre-DLC. If you can't tell, this is pre-DLC. I had to turn off war sales. And I had to download 2 or 3 other mods, right? This Tales of the Age of Men, they're working on getting it to be set up with 1.3, but right now they only have it set up with 1.2 or something like that. So we reverted our Bannerlord here, and we're going to dive into it for a little while. I want to do some major battles with Tales of the Age of Men, so we wanted to test these mods out. And, you know, I've had a couple battles, but obviously it takes a while in a campaign to build up where you have a battle like this. So we had to, I want to test basically these mods to make sure it's working. And so far, even though I can't tell if I'm recording, shit seems to be working great. And maybe the battle's over. What are we looking at here? It's get a drink time here. And take a break. 400. How come there's only 400? Well, I did not promise a terrific episode today. You know, that's the thing when you're drunk. You don't make great decisions, right? I used to say you get bad judgments as you can't even use proper grammar anymore. And I thought that Banner Knight was charging us, and I'm like, no, there's no Banner Knights here. That's the thing with Brigand battles is you can get neutral or allied forces. Well, there's no allies in 1.2, but these neutral forces can join you, right? Which is great, of course, for a situation like this. That one battle against that 7,000, it was hilarious seeing the Northern Empire get blasted by all these looters, and then we just stepped to the side and took advantage of them getting blasted and then shot them to pieces. You still got the 5th Division, 4th Division have ammo, right? That's why they're standing here with their swords. I'm conserving ammo here because there's a very real chance this is 20,000 looters. If you've never seen 20,000 looters, you're about to. I'm almost certain that we're gonna have that other army is gonna join, and they had 15,000. I'll try to list the mods later on when I'm sober. But Bandit Overhaul and a couple 3 other ones makes for these kind of spectacles. This is fucking terrific. And it's amazing how smooth it is. I don't know if the recording comes out this smooth, but we're fighting against, 1,200 units on the screen, and it's like butter. It's just glassy, smooth. And that's the other test, right? I want to make sure that my system, graphics, the looters, can handle huge Lord of the Rings battles. So we're going to reenact some battles, and I got a couple great ideas for both series and playthroughs. We'll see if the playthrough is slow. I don't know much about Tales of the Age of Men. I know it's one of the most amazing mods out there, period. Not just in Bannerlord, but period. It's unbelievable, the quality of it, right? I've already had just a glance, and it's staggering how much effort these modders have put into Tales of the Age of Men. And I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I mean, after all, my grandfather was English. I'm American, but something like, 20% of Americans used to be English, or whatever, or English. We just didn't want to pay motherfucking taxes on the tea. And I'll try not to laugh too much at a bunch of helpless looters yelling for help, but man, it makes me laugh. And I'm drunk, right? So we're gonna laugh at stupid shit. And this custom polearm, you forget how lethal a custom polearm is on horse when you stop doing it. Of course, I've been playing a lot of Laron Heavyham in the Epic Nord campaign, and we're not using a horse. Bannerlord's a lot easier when you're rocketing around a horse, and look how much damage I'm doing just running dudes over. That's got to be some kind of war crime, right? We've got a homeless encampment attacking our army here, and instead of dispersing them, and rehoming them, I'm running them over with our horse here and causing gaping avulsions with their skin with our sharp custom polearm here. Save us! We can't stop them. Run, run! We still have at least one division that hasn't shot at all. Just gonna keep them back there and holding ammo, holding fire, right? Because the hordes are still coming. These kind of battles here, it just seems never fucking ending. And there's an outside chance that this is more than 20,000, right? That this is like, I don't know, it'd be 40,000 or something like that. That looters pour in from every single part of the Highlands arena here. Now the good news too is we'll be able to keep using an Uber character because we have the RTS mod, right? That's working beautifully here. And that means we're going to be able to use one of Hugh the Hammer's character friends, right? This is a side series of our epic Aserai campaign. We made a smithing character and gave him some custom weapons. This is the last time I crafted, and man, do I hate crafting. I know a lot of guys think it's the key to Bannerlord. I just think it's so tedious. I would much rather fight looters and mounted ransackers until I have carpal tunnel. I've got a square tucked behind the rocks and fiend champions. Firing arrows into the looters here. Into this medieval zombie apocalypse. They're throwing rocks. And the death spam is just solid green. Of course, square with archer support. You block all these rocks right there. It doesn't hurt your squares. Save yourselves! And they keep coming. We might have 5,000 troops rout in this battle. Now this battlefield is pretty optimal for our army. I gotta be careful though I don't get caught in the marsh because you get a looter beat down. They'll beat you to death with their pitchforks. It's probably best if I stay on a horse. It's so much fun fighting on foot, and I'm used to it now. I don't feel like I'm fighting particularly well compared to how we used to be able to fight on horse. We're gonna have to start charging with some of these divisions. Those guys are out. They're out. So the third and fifth. I'm keeping the third back for later in this battle. You can see our horse archers have a little bit of ammo. I should just say our Consguard division. And even though it's, this won't end up being part of the Perfect Army series, this series was fun, right? We're going to have to remake this, right? What is the Perfect Army with Nords? Well, for sure you're adding Huskarls and Skjaldberstyrs. Maybe we add some Sky Gods Chosen? What do you fellas think? I think so, right? They're basically, we did archer rankings last week. I think the Sky Gods Chosen are basically, you can mix and match them with sharpshooters. I think they're virtually identical. Obviously, the sharpshooters tend to have higher front-end damage. And the Sky Gods Chosens will have more ammo, right? So your Sky Gods Chosens are probably better for battles like this. For you fellas out there, I want to be a full-service YouTube provider here. So, for the battles where you guys are facing 5,400 looters, because this is a normal battle here. We want to give advice on practical situations that you guys are going to be facing. This is what you want. You want more Sky Gods Chosen right here. There you go. We're going to make sure that this episode has educational as well as entertainment value. And the death snap is still fizzing. It's such a hilarious proposition. I had a guy say, can you kill 10,000 looters? And we did, right? And so now I say, can you kill 20,000 looters? Well, we shall see. These guys are still shooting. Run! Everyone run! Gun them down while they run, Fiend Champions. Be a bunch of bullies. Medieval bullies. These two squares can hold. You guys can charge. And now the looters get a two-handed beatdown. Let's join them. This guy, hold your sword up, dude. Shit, killed Talia Willowbark. I'm starting to watch the upper right to see if we're suffering companion. You start to run out of hit points, just like my character. A lot of these Fiend Champions might be on their feet, but they're at 20% health. Every other looter routes. That's another of my favorites too. I'm not dying here right now. So they get dismembered. Now we're down to 10%. We're gonna have to. There's a horrid amount coming in, right? There's a bald guy right here. They all have different clothing and afros and giant. No cavalry though. Still, I thought they would have cavalry. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is only going to be 6,000. We got our Consguard division rampaging on horse. We've got Fiantiams and veteran Falksmen. This was back when veteran Falksmen did not have a sword. They had a giant pole arm. And a lot of people prefer the new Falksmen. I tend to agree with them. But there is something to be said about having a two-handed shock troop with a long pole arm. They smoke cavalry. That is the biggest difference. Guys have said, you know, what shock troops do you prefer? Well, most of them are the same. I still prefer, like in a Manavliaton against cavalry-heavy armies, right? If you're playing Valandia, you want a lot of Manavliatons. So that way they can smoke all them banner knights. If you have a whole bunch of Falksmen, I don't think you'll do nearly as well. The biggest difference is they can't really hit the body of the rider a lot of times. Right, where your Manavliatons are just designed to smoke cavalrymen. I've got this one archer division there. Consguards here. I'm starting to think that it makes more sense for us to fight amongst the buildings here. Partly because it is a little bit like Thermopylae, right? That is the battle with the Spartans made famous by 1,000 different productions. The key is to fight into a narrow area here, right? We might be able to find some bottlenecks here. We still have a lot of ammo left. The 3rd Division has all of their ammo, right? I'm keeping them basically as a break glass in case of emergency. The Consguards still have some ammo. And we still have a couple divisions that have probably 20 or 30 arrows. We're not going to be able to reload, right? And some guys are like, well, just quit the battle. No way, right? We're going to have this be one continuous spectacle. We're not going to do the exploitive shit where you can just retreat and reload. What fun is there now, right? That's not a last stand. Can you imagine in, you know, one of these zombie apocalypse movies, right? Walking Dead or whatever. If all of a sudden they were like, all right, cut, no more zombies, let's let them reload their shotguns. No, you want it to be continuous like this. And I'm starting to look at these left sides here too. There's all kinds of channels to use. As a tactician, you should be drooling over this shit, right? You come to our channel, you start working on your flanking angles and your skill, and this shit starts to become second nature, right? You're starting to look for advantages in every landscape because you've done it. We've got to get some line of sight for these divisions, so it's going to take a little bit of playing around here as they're hitting me with little rocks. They throw these little petrified turds. And if you get hit by 100 of them, you're dead, right? If you get hit by 2 of them, you're probably fine. But they have 100 of them. Look how many have poured in on this left side, or my other left, the right side. And 3rd division here. We're going to have to start having these guys fire. Looters will kill you if they start to pile up, right? None of your units can attack because they're getting swarmed. Right now, though, we've got the offensive advantage. You see, some of these looters have like a birth control haircut. Someone said, "What does that mean?" That means they never get laid. They got a terrible mustache and a bowl haircut. Pumpkin pied fucking bowl cut haircutted motherfucker. It's very effective. You're not having any babies. Now I don't know, but it feels. Oh shit! There's a large surge here. It feels like Laron Heavyhand is stronger than this character. The reason that could be, despite this guy's two-handed skill being higher, is that the new axes, right? The new axes they add, the new equipment they added, in particular the two-handed axes that they gave the Nords are so lethal. It makes these weapons seem very unusable. We have a custom axe here, right? It's fast, it's got decent range, but when you get like a legendary Barghast's axe or something like that, you're just smashing everything. Even the Berserker, a legendary Berserker axe, and a couple of our campaigns, we have those. It's just unbelievable how much power they have. And we're winning this fucking battle. 140 archers. We still have the 8th division. We might get a reinforcement wave too. I guess we can't count our victory until it says fucking the enemy is fleeing. But right now, it definitely feels like we've got this battle under wraps. And look at this corridor for archers. We could charge at the center and put squares there if we need to. That's where the looters are pouring in. There's 600 of them over there. And we can just spray them from the side here with arrows. Now, you don't really need to do ultra complex tactics in a situation like this because these units don't have shields. These are looters. But you do want your archers to have good line of sight, so they're not standing there holding their bow. We've got this cav here. Most of these guys have no javelins. This is one of the more unique village maps. There's all kinds of nooks and crannies. It feels like a zombie apocalypse, right? The villages are all disheveled. All the buildings are run down. I mean, what's wrong with you, Botania? Get your shit together. The original white trash here. It's super pleasurable just to listen to them yell for help over and over. Now we'll see if there's pathfinding issues, right? That's the other thing we're testing here. This is like an optimal episode to test this because it's so chaotic. There's all these little pathways. Let's get some archers way up there. Look how beautiful that is. Rain arrows down on them, boys. And that's like a war crime. A bunch of stacked up looters and fiend champions shooting them, right? We can give them even higher up. Look at that. That's precious. They're in a big spread green formation. These guys to form a square in here. Of course, these are Vanguard Ferris. This is part of that series, right? Vanguard Ferris, for sure, are part of the perfect Bannerlord army. They were great before the 1.3 and War Sales patch, as we've shown with our testing. I firmly feel like they're the best unit in Bannerlord. It's the fact that javelins are so accurate and do so much damage. Now, if you ask me if I'd rather have 100 Fiend Champs or 100 Vanguard Ferris, you know, for any battle, and the rest of the variables are unknown, 100 Fiend Champs, no question. I think overall, the Fiend Champion is the easiest unit to use in the game. Open field battles, though, Vanguard Ferris, there's a lot of situations where they will clearly be favorable to Fiend Champions. The difference, though, is that if you're not careful with your javelin use, they will run out of javelins, and then what you have is a weak horseman. Right? What are they ultimately after that? They're not as good on horse as a Banner Knight or a Drunken champion. So, if you know how to use them, they're definitely the best unit in the game. But Fiend Champions, you don't need to know how to use them. Right, I had a lot of guys say the only tactic I need is Fiend Champion spam, just like what we're doing here. It'll be interesting to see how many they kill. They might kill 5,000. They're on an elevated position, just firing into, and you can't miss. Right, look at the death spam. There's just and they're probably one-shotting every looter. We've got all these perks. They're over here beating on our square. And if you watch the death spam, what is it, 80%, 100% archers, right? They're just frizzing, frizzing looters. Every once in a while, they don't get one shot. You see them get staggered by a shot, and it's not enough to kill them. Oh, shit. We're down to a sliver of health here. And I feel like I'm getting more sober. I keep drinking, and the more sober I get. Of course, that's usually what you do when you're drunk, right? You're like, oh, I can drive a car, and then you crash into a tree or something like that. I've talked about it before on the channel. I despise drunk driving. I've never done it. But I've been on the scenes as a firefighter. I've done that shit a lot, and I've seen a lot of innocent fucking people killed by drunk drivers, and shit makes me angry. Right? Just somebody, you know, whatever it is, they're coming home from their night shift because they got to work 2 jobs to support their family, and they get killed by a fucking drunk driver. That shit infuriates me, right? Get a fucking Uber. Make sure you got a plan. Right? And I try not to lecture too much, but if anybody, you know, should talk about the devastating effects of drunk drivers, the people who've either suffered losses to drunk drivers or firefighters and ER nurses who've seen it firsthand. I've seen at least 10 people killed in drunk driving accidents, and some of them have been terribly tragic. I won't tell the story now because I have no health. But I saw a daughter kill or a father kill his own daughter drunk driving. That's fucking horrible. And so I say don't drink and drive, but drink and shoot, drink and ride, Bannerlord, absolutely, right? It turns a lengthy battle like this into a thrilling affair. I see, it feels like there's looters. I'm so drunk it feels like there's looters stretched across the whole screen in front of me. And then I realize, oh yeah, there are actually looters. And body parts stretched across the whole field. And I'm down to a sliver of health here as we hold this little bottleneck. But that doesn't mean we're going to give up, right? As half of them are out and the other half get dismembered as they throw their little pebbles at me here. The center's holding pretty well. I got some cons guards there to charge. And this, I can't believe this battle is still going. I didn't look down. It's probably going at least a half hour so far. Shit. Yep. And the death of an animal, man, is something different, right? Of course, if you never have a pet, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it's different, man. I've seen a lot of people die in real life. My grandpa died. I barely cried. Right? I missed the guy. I was sad for sure. I was very, I think solemn is the word when my grandpa died. It felt like it had weight and gravity to it. But man, when you lose an animal, a dog, a cat, it's something different. And I think there's several factors that go into it. First, we presume they know nothing about death. And so they're about to experience something they know nothing about. Now, on one hand, they can't be afraid of it, right? Probably not. They're afraid of pain, like most animals. But they don't know, right, what's going to happen. Neither do we, of course. And so they don't have that innate fear of death. But they know something is wrong, right? They read our body language here. As we windmill all these looters out of here. I feel like a superhero with this character. Oh, shit. And as soon as I said that, I got hit in the face. What do we got here? Okay, we got it. Okay, the 3rd division is intact still. We still have a reserve division, which is amazing. It's been hard to hold, patience here, but we still have at least 300 units. We got Fiend Champions with ammo here. That looks good. They're in a great position here, using this little bottleneck here. The enemy's getting stacked up on a square. They're kind of sneaking around the back and throwing rocks at us here. They can get beheaded for that shit. Half the looters run in, and the other half run out. It's so much fun, it shouldn't be legal. Look at like half of them running the other direction. We're starting to suffer losses here, though, right? I'm seeing the black armor of Fiend Champions laying in the dirt next to these brown looters. We're definitely slowly starting to use troops here. And death sucks, right? Like when you lose an animal, it's forever, right? I had a cat that was basically my de-stressor. Right? If you've never owned a cat, the biggest difference between a cat and a dog is a dog is fun. A dog is like a best friend. A dog is energetic and keeps your spirits up and stuff like that. A cat is soothing. And I don't mean like the cat that's trying to paw you. You got to have the right cat. Cats are common, right? They have physiological effects on our body when they purr. It's proven to lower blood pressure, decrease cortisol, some other stress levels. It's literally good for your health to have a cat. And there's something else about it, right? Like this cat would sleep on me sometimes, and I would sleep so hard. And my cat Brutus, that was his name, when he would sleep like in the crook of my arm, I'd sleep better than any sleep medicine. And you ultimately, in most cases, have to choose, right? When you have a pet, they don't die. They don't just lay down and die in their sleep. That's not really a thing, right? As a firefighter, I can tell you that's rarely the case, right? Death is usually slow. It's usually painful, and in a lot of cases, a natural death is it's a pretty rough thing to go through. But so is choosing for them to die, right? They have the mindset of like a toddler here. And what do? I got that 3rd division. I'm trying to figure out some more strategic advantages here in case this battle keeps going. Got that one master archer. It's confusing me seeing that red armor in here. Got those fiend champs there. They're going to have to charge. I got this character. I don't even remember his name. It's Ragged. I think this was one of the sons of the original character. And he's obviously more than capable of doing damage here. I'm probably better off on horse, but this is awful fun too. He's got a long custom polearm, and it's just a beast of a weapon. Now it doesn't kill multiple units like his dad, right? The axe, the hammer hits multiple units. But it's amazing, right? And I've heard other guys talk about other alpha males. I'm a firefighter. We're all alpha males, right? The vast majority of firefighters, anyways, are alpha males. I'll get these guys up here and start shooting. We can trade these divisions out. These divisions can charge, and we can bring the 3rd division in here to add their ammo, their arrows to the fray. We've still got like 90 archers that have ammo. And maybe that'll finally quell this rebellion here of looters. And so, euthanize. That's what we do with animals, cats, dogs. And I tell you, man, it's hard, right? Because you're choosing, you're deciding. Today you die, buddy. Brutus, today's your day. And you get all the emotions that come with that, right? You're killing him. You're choosing for them to die. Now it's mercy, right? Brutus wasn't eating. He was clearly suffering. He was like grimacing, looking at me, right? He's 18 years old. Long age for a cat is like 15, right? So he lived a very full life. And you could just tell he wasn't happy. He was losing weight. He didn't eat food for like 4 days. No matter what we tried. We tried giving him all kinds of appetite stimulants and shit like that. Spent all kinds of money on him. Still doesn't eat. So when animals don't eat, they're trying to avoid the prolonged pain. Right? They feel so miserable, they don't want to live. And of course, that's usually your cue to say goodbye. But it's amazing. One of the biggest alpha males I work with, 300-pound, just a beast gorilla of a guy. He said he wept like a baby when they had to put their dog down. Wept like a baby. And he said he just had tears pouring. He said he was on his hands and knees, pouring tears. It's just something different. Part of it is because the animal has the mentality of a 4-year-old. So they stay 4 their whole lives, right? Your dog, your cat, they never do algebra. They never learn how to use pronouns and shit like that. And so they become basically like old children, right? When they're 15 years old, they have the mindset of a 3 or 4-year-old, but they've been your friend for 15 years. So in a little way, it's like euthanizing your child, which feels, that you've known for 15 years, which feels very, very wretched. I can tell you, I feel... I was going to say guilty. There's latent guilt. I know I did the right thing, but you feel a huge variety of emotions. When you, oh shit, we're stuck here. Our horse is doing the permanent fucking flying thing here. And I had an episode like a month or two ago, talked about time heals all wounds. Some guys disagree. And I do tend to agree. My wife lost her mom to Alzheimer's, and she said the pain will probably never go away. I don't mean that. I guess what I should say is time softens all wounds. Some wounds never heal, right? If you lose a son to a drunk driver, And hopefully none of you that's happened to, that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Hopefully you don't kill somebody as a drunk driver. Hopefully you listen to people like me and other people, your parents or whoever, and you don't take chances with drinking and driving. Drink and play Bannerlord, friends. That's my suggestion. But it's something different when you put an animal down. I mean, I've killed 20 people in my life and didn't feel sorry for anyone. That one fuck who was disagreeing with me on YouTube about the best units in Bannerlord, I got his information, you know, via Google and traveled to his house. And, you know, we drew and quartered him with our Fiend champions, right? I'm ruthless to people who don't agree with my despotism on the channel. We do some violence to you know, people who disagree with us on Reddit. But there just is not much like having an animal that you've been with for this long and putting them down. This division here, we're finally going to have to activate. I've been stealing from it, so there's not 100 anymore, right? We've got a much smaller division. But it also feels like this battle's under wraps here. These corridors are definitely working, but I do see death occasionally too, right? And the looters just keep on piling up. And if you're watching to this stage, all I can say is thank you, friends. I've got almost an emotional gratitude for all the fellas that come by the channel to listen to a crusty old fella talk about euthanizing animals and preaching to you fellas about the hazards and the real shame it is that people drink and drive. And I take, you know, I take this role seriously, right? There's a lot of influencers that use their fucking influencing audience to do bad shit, right? Whether there's racists out there or saying the Holocaust was fake and shit like that. I fucking despise people like that. They've got this microphone that society has granted them. Every single one of you can unsubscribe tonight, right? I've got to offer the content. I'm aware this content maybe it's negative. I'll be able to track it with the analytics and see. Oh shit, they don't like Drunken Bannerlord. Have a good time. Hopefully you're drinking. I promise you, it's a lot more fun if you're drinking. My face is buzzing. My coordination is starting to fade here as I continue to lose oxygen cells heading to the brain. But I feel like the battle is all but over, right? We're starting to move in. We're going to be trapping the enemy. Oh, shit. You see that horseman? The reinforcements are arriving. This battle is going to hit a whole new level of gnarly. I kicked that looter to death. But I think, you know, it's incumbent on people to share good advice when they have a microphone. It's a real shame, you know, that people use it for hate or use it to spread fake news. The worst part about it, of course, is these mega companies, they reward the hate and the fake news, right? If a YouTube channel starts posting a whole bunch of fake shit, it doesn't matter the political party, it has a much higher chance of success than one just reporting the facts. That has been proven, and that's a catastrophe, right? That's the kind of shit that for sure should be regulated. There should be consequences. Back in the day, if a news channel reported fake shit, oh shit, this is a lot of cavalry. They got called out by the public. They might even be kicked off the air. At a minimum, they were going to lose a lot of viewers. Today, you post fake shit and you get more viewers because it fits their confirmation bias narrative. And this battle is it's reached a new level of beautiful chaos. I might have to get on a horse here. I'm getting knocked all over the place. And these are the mounted ransackers. These guys are not worthless. Right? As they get carved apart. They're like, they look worthless to me. These guys are from a mod that basically sought to make looter bands more interesting. Right? Instead of just straight monotonous looters, they gave them two different types of looters in addition to the foot looter. They gave them a cavalry looter, this mounted ransacker, and they gave him, or maybe the mounted ransacker is the archered one. They gave him two of them. 2 different kinds, and one of them has a bow. I don't see very many guys with a bow here, but they might be shooting too, right? And obviously it's a very different looter battle once you got cavalry charging you. But we still got a bunch of horse archers, 70, 49, 83. The arrows will do nicely on this ridge right here. We can get a bunch of arrows right here. And I need a horse. Here we go. I don't have to tell these guys to get off. I want to do some horse carving up close. Oh shit, here's their mounted ransackers. Look at all these guys with the bows. And look at this fucking carnage. Oh my god, look how many. They're all unarmored. They're all naked. They got some rags and shit. And that is the most carnage I've ever seen in a Bannerlord video. They're pouring down this ridge. It looks like something out of a movie. And they're still routing. Run, scatter. Every once in a while I get hit for 2. And we've got them jammed up against the back wall here so they can't move. Just getting clubbed over the head by a custom polearm. This guy trying to hold up his sword. Keep holding up that sword, dipshit. You're gonna get hit with it. This horse is dying everywhere. 44 there. They pounded that looter on the ground. And it's still pouring in. Holy shit. I gotta get up in here. You don't want these guys surrounding you and starting to get all over the place with all these horsemen. God, the amount of carnage. This is absolutely glorious. Save yourself. He gets chopped by a long, pointy stick with a sharp edge to it. And absolutely the best therapy after you've had a hard week. And that's usually how it is, of course, when you put an animal down. You don't make the decision in 5 minutes. You got a lot of back and forth. You know, our cat Brutus, I kept thinking, well, if he eats, you know, maybe he'll start to recover. So you give him some medicine. And that's a hard decision too, right? What is an animal worth, right? What is a person worth? How much money do you spend? Now, most people would agree that a person's worth whatever it takes, but of course there has to be limits to everything, right? If you were married and had 6 kids, as cavalry just explode on that hillside, and one of your kids was disabled, and it was going to cost so much money that the rest of your family was going to be barely able to sustain, barely able to eat, you got the most brutal decision of all, right? Do you let one kid go to have the other 5 survive? And even though that's obviously an extreme scenario, we all make that decision on some level with pets, right? There's some people that don't spend any money on pet health care, and then other people will bankrupt themselves spending money on their cats. You know, obviously everybody's opinion differs. I think the answer is somewhere in between. You know, if it was going to be, if they said, well, for 200,000, your cat can live another 2 years, I'd be like, well, where do we inject some sedatives into this fella? Let's try to reset here. I've got so many troops that some of these guys are getting jammed up on the edges of this, and I don't think it's advantageous. We want them to be visible on this slope here. Look at that shit. That's amazing. And there's heads rolling about and shit like that. With the dismemberment mod, it just adds a whole nother layer of carnage. There's limbs, and they accumulate on the battlefield. As well as the carcasses of the horses. And holy shit, you've just never seen a spectacle like this before. At least I've never seen a spectacle like this before. And they're still piled up here. They got fucking heaps and heaps of horse archers just getting shot off their mount. We've got Phoenix Champs in the valley shooting. We've got 2 divisions charging. I want to try to keep the archers back a bit, and so I put them back and then say charge. The reason you do that is because you want the guys that are out of ammo to charge, right? Don't just stand there. Don't just stand there. Kill something. And the enemy's horses are piled up here against the wall. We've got 2 different squares working. And especially while that 3rd division, the ammo holds out, it's going to be a mounted pillager massacre. Oh shit. Looters joined the battle as an enemy. How many? It just poured in. The number just kept getting bigger. And now it looks like they have foot troops. Let's form some lines here. 60, 48. We still have 300 troops. Bring more looters. Maybe we can kill 20,000. I wonder how many just joined. They just roared and cheered. They're charging, throwing their petrified turds. That guy's got a purple face. This ridge here is protected. There's cons guards at the square that can charge. Archers in the center here. There's about 30 guys still shooting, but we're almost completely out of ammo here. We may have to make like a last stand right here at this little section. There's a narrow opening right in front of us here, and then to our left, it's also very protected. If we can just stack them up here and fight like the Spartans are, this is where we stand. This is where they die. Right, with my not so Leonidas voice here. It's going to be very 300-like though, with all these guys getting dismembered and shredded by cons guards. Damn, that guy took 3 shots to kill. Most of them get 1 shot. And I can get in here on a horse, but obviously my horse leaves me a bit more vulnerable. You get shot. You're also, you know, you're not really getting deep into here because you you would just get mauled. You can't charge all these looters, right? There's, I don't know, there's 800 or 1,000 looters piled up there. Let's see if we can fight right around the margins here. We can't stop them. It is called Mountain Blade, after all. It looks like just an ocean of looters. There's just looters all the way to the back of the screen. 35 in this division. Let's have those guys positioned a little bit more intelligently, right? That 6th division is our division that has the most ammo left, that little white bar. It says they have half ammo. The 2nd division has a little bit. The 3rd division has a little bit. That's not reflective, though, of the whole division, right? That just means some of those guys have ammo left. But that's the best way to kill these guys, is just to fill them full of arrows. I don't have the squares anymore, though. What do we have here? 1, 2... There should be some squares. The 8th division, maybe? Some shields. Those guys are knee-deep in looters over there. And now I'm starting to grasp at straws for angles here. Now, we can't fall back. We'll get trucked by looters, right? They move fast because, oh shit, did not want to be in here. This is exactly what I was saying we did not want to do. I'm going to try to fight my way out of here. Charge. There's looters all amongst your midst. I can't tell why they're sneaking through like that. I can't tell. It's like they're infiltrating our lines here as our Fiend champions and cons guards start to get zerged here a little bit. Fight, men! We don't want to lose to a bunch of looters. God, there's a lot, though. Holy shit. That army of 15,000 probably joined. It's probably what we're looking at here. This truly is 20,000 looters. And it is the Walking Dead. I mean, this is astonishing. Our lines are still doing okay. We've got 3 different divisions here. They're just going to have to charge, right? What I want to do is move them back, have them shoot, and then charge, right? And what that does is you get the best of both worlds. The archers that have ammo shoot. They'll scuffle forward a little bit while they're charging. And that guy? Okay, those guys have some shields. And then, obviously, when you charge, the guys that are out of ammo become shock troops. This was back when Fiend Champs had 260 bow skill, right before the nerf. So they're exceptionally. Consguards too, they both got the same nerf. I think both of them could have one more nerf. Guys always hate on the channel when I say that shit. Fortunately, God, we're 1 hour into this battle. Is that right? It might be right. My sense of time is gone, of course. I've got calluses on my fingers. But there's no end in sight. If we don't start getting more looting routers soon, also known as routing looters, we're going to lose this battle. Damn. Well, the good news is this series is purely exhibition. It's not like, obviously, it's not part of a campaign. We're just having some fun, tilting some back here and numbing some of the harder emotions. Thank you, alcohol. I saw a hilarious meme about that. It was on one of the healthy foods Facebook groups that I'm part of. This gal shared it, and it had a picture of a bunch of alcohol. And it said, you know, whenever I've had a really hard moment in life, kale and broccoli were never there for me. Thank you, alcohol. And my wife and I being such healthy people, I shared it with her, and of course that's so apropos. You want to have a 98% ratio of one to the other, right? Eat 98% kale, 2% drink alcohol, and you'll have a great life, right? You're gonna have a healthy enough brain and body that you won't need to drink very much, except when you have to put down your companion animal. But when you do, man, are you stoked that alcohol exists. My face is still vibrating. That's one of the physiological effects that I get. And it's super pleasurable to play. You're just kind of like in a foggy haze. I feel like I'm just sort of floating. We're still alive here, right? We still got some vigor left, and it's time to start charging with everybody here. This does feel like a last stand. We must have 100 troops here, and the enemy seems like they have 20,000 looters. Cons guards are boring in. We might be able to pull right back to that bottleneck with the square, but I don't know. Let's see what it looks like. There's so many looters built up here on the rocks. I'm a little worried they'll just start throwing heaps of rocks at us. The square can make us a nice little rear guard here. I can sort of protect the square. Okay, that's probably going to have to do. The square is getting fully enveloped. I'm not sure this bottleneck here is better, but we can try it. It's as good a spot as any for a last stand. And I love this guy carrying the flag. Give that guy a raise. If we survive this, right, he's getting a chateau. Carries the flag the whole battle, swinging with this one-handed weapon. Look at this. Of course, the looters eventually, they start parrying everything like they're fucking James Bond or some shit. Look at this fucking guy. Get the fuck out of here. Gonna turn you into a belt. That guy looked like Jesus. I'm so drunk, I'm killing Jesus tonight. All right, fellas. We need to bottle him up. Look how many that is. That's amazing. Get in here. There's a few cons guards up there. Oh man, the looters are starting to leak around to the left edge. We don't want that. That's bad for sure. Does anybody have ammo? I don't think anybody does. There's like 20 of us holding this little opening here. We got 20 archers. Our left side has a chaotic scrum developing. And we're down to the felt here in this episode. There's definitely a chance that all of a sudden it just says the enemy is fleeing. And so you fight these out to the end. Man, these guys are not shooting. They're out of ammo. I saw one arrow go in there. Kill this guy. There's a cons guard. He looks like he's surfing in a sea of looters. He's just wailing away with his glaive too. It looks hilarious. And I think we've got a bow, right? This guy can shoot. Might be safer for him. Probably not. We could probably kill way more with our glaive. We're a full service YouTuber now. They're starting to rout here. Let's get in here. I don't want to die. Thank goodness we got games to make us laugh at death. Instead of fucking deal with it on a regular basis. The horror of looter death is very kind compared to actual death. I've been lucky as a firefighter. I've gone on very few children that have died. Those are the worst. Because it's like a pet, right? They're helpless. They don't understand. And the parents, the worst of all, of course, is that the parents are utterly bereaved. They are utterly destroyed by losing a child. You just can't... Oh, God, I don't even want to talk about it. The emotions that they display are so genuinely painful. And you just... Your heart just... sinks. And we've lost this battle. This is incredible. Speaking of death. And there is an unbelievable amount of looters. How many is that? That's got to be... What do you fellas think? 1,200? 1,500? The whole fucking village is just a tidal wave of looters here. You got like 4 Fiend champions at the last shot. And maybe we'll be the last man standing in our army here. Of course, a companion. We're taking a few of you guys with us. There's a cons guard here. Shoot him, dude. Charge. Get in there. We're going to lose this horse. Oh, shit. And we went down. What do we got here? We got to take a cons guard, but I don't think we need to. Holy shit. What am I looking at here? 155. What does that even mean? What? Did we kill 1,500? No. There's got to be way more than 1,500 holding their petrified turds here. And you can see all the unique faces with this mod. It's great. This guy's got scars and a ponytail. I think we killed 15,000. I normally don't bring the scoreboard up mid-battle, right? For a battle like this, so obviously at the end, we'll get a little tally here and see the incredible carnage. I mean, that is an epic amount of looters. And you can see our troops and body parts and arms and legs that are dismembered. I mean, Bannerlord, no game does this, right? To have this kind of carnage, and that was smooth like butter. I think I'm recording here. I do not see the sign, but you know, if you guys are watching it, there's just limbs scattered everywhere. It's unbelievably grotesque. There's a Fiend champion helmet and crumpled bodies everywhere. And I think it was Livy. It was one of the Roman philosophers who said, "Death is beautiful to those who have never experienced it." Well, thank you, friends, for tuning into this episode here. Let's give you a little tally here, a little scoreboard. 15, 14. What am I looking at? 155. That's 15,000 that are wounded. I can barely read the numbers because the system doesn't know how to handle it. 6,000 routed. They had 1,400 on the screen and another 4,500 dead. So 15,000 of them, they just got a scratch, right? It's just a scratch, and you can see the mounted pillagers and shit like that. The tremendous chaos from this fun episode. And there's probably like one drunk dude watching with me at this stage. I appreciate you, brother. 776 for Hugh the Hammer. And I needed this, right? The cathartic value of laughing at Bannerlord, to have this kind of chaos. This is what video games are all about, right? This shit's so that you don't axe murder your boss tomorrow, right? He tells you got to work an extra shift, and you know he's fucking collecting all kinds of money, or his boss's boss is collecting money and being the despot in your life and dictating all kinds of shit, telling you when you got to work and stuff like that. And games like this are a perfect way to not kill your boss, right? To have that cathartic value. Now, what's happening here? I might be frozen. You know what? We're going to wrap this episode up no matter what. I appreciate you, friends. Thanks for watching our channel here on Tactical Enlightenment. Thanks for tuning in to our, here we go, our 10,000. There's an army of 10,000 looters carrying us away here. Thanks for watching another episode of our smashingly good time here. Hopefully you had some fun. You probably didn't learn much, right? Don't fight 20,000 looters. I guess we took out 20,000, right? And 6,000 routed, so 26,000. And we're still captured. All right, friends. If you liked it, please hit that like button on the way out. Some guys like this shit, some guys don't. I appreciate you watching. Listen to a drunk, slightly emotionally ravaged fellow talk tonight on YouTube. Stay tuned for Tales of the Age of Men. I'm going to play it for a little while, understand the system, and learn what mods are favorable and stable. But we're going to have some fun with this amazing mod. And again, thanks for tuning into our channel, fellas. I will see you, friends, next time.